What does it mean to belong in this devotional alliance?
As I already mentioned, to be part of Tadatmya, or in order to be part of Tadatmya, you don't need to sign any paper or nor be initiated by one particular guru, nor be part of any specific institution. You just need to resonate with the principles of radical personalism, which are kind of the pillars of Tadatmya, of this devotional alliance. You have to just resonate with our attempt to approach Gaudiya Vaishnavism and spirituality in general in the way we are trying to do, in a relevant, relatable, honest, profound way, hopefully. So if that's your mood, then you're already part of this devotional alliance, even if you don't know about it yet. So so again, it's mostly about trans-institutional commitment. It's a belonging from the heart, the being part from that place, a commitment with an ideal, with a way of conceiving, embracing, pursuing Krishna Bhakti, spirituality, even if the members are part of one mission or another. And of course, in this Tadatmya dynamic, in this devotional alliance, we may find what in classical tradition we will call swapaksha, and also suhrit paksha, and also vipaksha. No? Swapaksha means we will be with our inner circle, our inner group of associates, so to say. We will find our inner family to walk this path together, hopefully, to not feel lonely, and to be able to define ourselves more clearly by being surrounded by like-minded spirits and kindred spirits. But also, Tadatmya hopes to provide not only swapaksha, the creation of inner circles, the creation of inner families, but also Tadatmya will include suhrit paksha, which means friendly circles, people which may not be part of my own inner circle, but there will be friendly other circles, but friendly people that we can collaborate with, that we can talk with, that we can work together with. And even by extension, we can establishing all the things can help us to further define the bipaksha, or the opposing party, so to say, because the more we define ourselves, the more we know who is who and who agrees with us, disagrees with us, and therefore how to relate to each other. So I think all this will help to further define not only ourselves, but with how we can relate to each other. And again, even if we belong to different groups, we don't belong, all of us, to the same inner circle, still we can find lots of commonality. We may be, as sometimes we put it, we may be riding in different boats, but hopefully carried by the same wind, the same inspiration, the same way of approaching things, at least on a certain level. So again, even if this implies we may belong to different associations, so to say. Kriyatam yadi kutopi labhyate, Krishna bhakti rasa bhavitamati, says Srila Rupa Goswami. If you want to attain this Krishna bhakti, Krishna consciousness, Krishna bhakti rasa, purchase it whenever it's available. Tatra laulim apyakalam mulyam. This is the definition of what spiritual greed is about. If we have real greed, it doesn't matter. It goes beyond. It breaks all these institutional borders, and it goes right to the heart whenever we are feeling tadatmya, empathy, connection, identification. Whatever that's available, that connection is available, we should be promoting, acquiring the currency necessary to purchase it, no matter from which institutional background. So for me, this idea of devotional alliance and the type of belonging makes me think of also Srila Prabhupada's League of Devotees, as I was talking with a friend recently. The spirit of, okay, let's get together as a League of Devotees. Let's work together for this common cause. Even if each of us have our own families, responsibilities, commitments, affiliations, there is place for a wider circle that encompasses all the other different smaller circles. And in these connections, I like also to share the image of the pilgrim in connection to how to be part of the Tadatmya. A pilgrim, we are all pilgrims ultimately. We are all sharing a journey together. like it or not. So Tadatmya in itself is a journey. Let's think of it as a journey, as a yatra. In Sanskrit, the word yatra can mean journey or pilgrimage. Hmm. And I thought about the word also at one point, Tadatmya Yatra. That's another word you can use. It's a journey unto itself. It's a pilgrimage. And its members, again, the members of Tadatmya are not merely members, they are pilgrims. Let's treat each other as pilgrims on a sacred journey. This is for me the most substantial way of belonging to a spiritual group. Or as I put in my book on Radical Personalism, that to think in this way represents a whole new level of affiliation, a whole new level of belonging, not merely to institutions, signing a paper, e- erecting a particular building, which again I have nothing against, to, or I wouldn't say even a new level of affiliation. In one sense, it's an old level of affiliation coming again in a new form, belonging to people and not to institutions. No, like a famous example. I mean, if you want to ask, which mission did Bhaktivinoda Thakur belong to? Which institution did Biswanath Chakravarti Thakur belong to? Hmm? Which, again, affiliation did Baladev Vidyabhushan have? Jiva Goswami, which was his mission? In one sense, they all belonged to the Gaudiya Sampradaya, they all belonged to Mahaprabhu's heart, they all belonged to their own guru's heart, to their own friend's heart. The affiliation happens, the real affiliation happens in this way. Eventually, some shape may come, institutions, missions, what we call it, may be there, but that doesn't change the truth of the fact, the essence of the fact. So things are not linear in life. They do not have like in this formulaic way, and this is the only way. Affiliations cannot be forced. Um, they should happen in a natural way, in an organic way. So sometimes this, I like to refer to this organic gathering of like-minded souls. Sometimes Rupa Goswami will call that Swajatiya Sangha, like-minded association. Mm. Nowadays, the term used is intentional communities. I really like that expression. We are a community, an intentional community. What puts us together is a particular intention we have in common, how we intend to serve, how we intend to live our life. So Tadatmya is an intentional community. It's all about what's the intention. That's what allows us to be part of it, to belong. All about intention again, which is more about coming together than in one sense going out, I will say. More about communion than anything else. We don't need to nourish our life with other people's association in a clandestine way. But it's okay to get together. For me, it's important to make that clear. It's okay to get together in whatever direction we feel genuinely sheltered, inspired, and nourished, uh, wherever we find like-minded association, in whatever direction Krishna is arranging for that to happen. I think it's important to allow that, to give ourselves permission for that to happen. That's the actual loyalty. Our actual loyalty cannot be to an institution. It has to be to a heart. As I like to say, you can only belong to hearts, not to institutions. Whatever a heart beats and makes your own heart beat, that's where you belong, whatever that may happen to be going on. So that's what we are pointing to here. And I know many of us may need some time to process and understand what we are talking about this new level of affiliation. Mm. And of course, our Devotional Alliance is not the only group doing this, nor it's the best, but it may be the best for some. And while it may not be the best for others, so it's a tribe, if you will, a tribe with its own taste, like so many other tribes, like so many other sanghas. And again, I mentioned this again, the word Sangha, although it's not included in the official logo and the official title, Sangha meaning community, may end up being a natural way to refer to this particular affiliation, since it may be too long to say, okay, I feel I belong to the Tadatmya Devotional Alliance. And it may be more practical for some to say Tadatmya Sangha than Tadatmya Devotional Alliance. But don't forget the part Devotional Alliance, since it helps to put everything else in context. So finally, in connection to how to be part of this Devotional Alliance, as I already mentioned briefly, but something that came a few weeks ago was that, in one sense, the main pillars of the alliance, and it was not planned, it came naturally, uh, happened to be based on the 7 chapters of the part 3 of my Radical Personalism book. As you may know, in that third part, I try to emphasize some of the main points that I emphasized in the previous parts of the book. And there are 7 chapters when I focus on 7 different but totally related topics. And somehow I feel they're a very organic, natural foundation for we what want to be about in Tadatmya. So I will briefly mention them. Again, each of them deserves its own series of lectures. So the first one is vulnerability leads to actual empowerment. Mm. So that's a very bedrock of Tadatmya. The importance of creating a safe space, as I mentioned, so we can be actually vulnerable. We can give ourselves permission and others to be who they are in their brokenness, in their in the humanness, in the frailty, and also know themselves to be already unconditionally loved by Bhagavan, and we've been able to extend that same unconditional acceptance to others, and therefore that will be open the door to actual empowerment. We don't want disempowering groups. We want empowering. So vulnerability leading to actual empowerment. First one. Second pillar, individuation. In other words, we have to take responsibility for our own potential. We have a commitment to our potential. We have to carve our sense of identity regarding our acquired nature as humans. We have to be balanced human beings. We cannot neglect our humanity, our psychology, our emotionality. All of those things don't need to be rejected, but need to be aligned with bhakti, integrated. And that's part of our individuation, how we can become all that we can be as individuals, which is the opposite of impersonalism. So that's a second pillar. The third one is non duality, which is the fundamental basis of reality. As I mentioned many times, our tradition promotes that. Our tradition is a non dual tradition. Advai Gyan, Tattva, reality is described as non dual consciousness, which means there's not a separate reality, an isolated thing. Everything is one. And on that basis of oneness, diversity happens. Diversity is there, Bheda Ved, but don't forget the foundation of oneness, where everything is interconnected, interrelated, constellating, revolving around a common center. So that foundation of reality gives us the orientation how to relate to one another and to everything in existence. Fourth, in connection to my chapter on guru disciple in my book, is the idea of we are students forever. Both guru and disciple should be willing to remain in this school of love, as I mentioned before, and perpetually be willing to learn and grow, since the subject matter of study is infinity itself. So it's very important to keep ourselves in that place of epistemological modesty, in that place of humility in terms of approaching reality, always from a place of being a student, being a servant, being a disciple. Even if you are a guru, you are first and foremost a disciple and a servant and a student. So that's another pillar. A fifth pillar is embrace mystery and coexist with the unknown. That has to do with the chapter on divine ignorance and the importance in not becoming addicted to certainty and being willing to coexist with uncertainty, understanding faith exactly as that. Faith as patience with mystery and understanding that we can never know it all. We shouldn't need to try to do that, but we should be willing to uh, humble ourselves by coexisting with lots of things that are beyond our reach and being okay with that and integrating that part of mystery, paradox, uncertainty into the higher equation of life. Then a sixth pillar will be related to prayer, integrating prayer into the fabric of our inner life. The importance of cultivating a life of prayer, an inner mood, an inner space for entering that particular chamber, that particular mode of being, which we call prayer, and all that that implies. Not only during the official moments of praying, but again, trying to extend it to a prayerful way of relating to each other, of living life, entering into a more contemplative space of action, not only of contemplation, both integrated. And one last pillar, that is the very last chapter of my book, is in connection to recognizing the sacredness, the sanctity within the material world. We don't need to reject this beautiful world. We don't need to reject Maya Shakti. It's one of the Shaktis of Bhagavan, one of the energies of the supremely energetic So, and it's important to perceive the presence of the divine in the immediate, in what we may consider now as ordinary, as gross, or whatever, and how we can integrate all these different aspects, energetic aspects around us, we being one of those, in a healthy way, in a wholesome way, how to attain not only holiness, but wholeness, two of them integrated. So, anyhow, these are some of the points, 7 pillars connected to these 7 chapters, which all of them are also connected to the idea of how we can be part of this Tadatmya, of this devotional alliance.